And
We can't go live without him, huh?
yes, we can.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Deborah Jones, with your Blue Table Talk co-host. Host. I'm sorry. Along with my co-host, Taria Ozan. Hi, Taria.
Hey, how are you?
Good girl. Everybody, let me just explain this part right here for you because we on late tonight simply because of technical difficulties. um with StreamYard. And so at least I thought it was StreamYard, but I had to go through a lot of formalities to get to the podcast. And so tonight we're going to talk with another at-large councilman, and his name is Michael Cooper. So as soon as Michael come on, we're gonna go ahead and do what we need to do. But before that, before we even come on, last night we had Brigida Hernandez Smith on, and she gave her views on what she think about running for the election with at large. And if you did not hear her, go back to Facebook or YouTube and put in Begita Smith, Deborah Jones, put in Deborah Jones, and then put in Begita's name, and then you can look at the podcast over again or look at it. So we going on. I'm gonna try my best to get all of them on. But if I don't, we'll get the majority on. If there's anybody that you want to hear that I haven't gotten on the podcast yet, then let me know. Inbox me, let me know, and I'll try my best to get that person on. And yes, we're going to get the mayor candidates on. I think I spoke to Roy West once, and so it was my fault that he didn't come on when he was supposed to come on, but he will come on soon. It might be, I don't know, either this Friday or next Friday. Am I right, Toya? Either this Friday, next Friday for Roy West?
Um, it's this
Toya,
Friday.
this Friday. So see,
Yes.
I keep telling Toya that I'm going dancing. She's just trying to make me do this Friday. So, but I'm gonna tell what time the dance start anyway. So I'm glad you guys are on tonight, and don't go ahead and hit your share button that so people could come on and look at or listen to Michael Cooper as he come on. And I'm gonna text him to let him know that I am on right now. This is Deborah because like I said, it was my fault. It was really my fault. It was difficult. Oh, he just popped in. See, talk about people and they do it. Hey, Michael.
How y'all doing?
I'm doing this
Hello,
cool.
how are you?
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes, I am so sorry, but I was having a little technical difficulties, and I just could not get StreamYard right, and so that's why we didn't come on when we were supposed to come on. But we on now.
That's fine. Hey, listen, we use it also for our television channel on Roku.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you know how it is sometimes, right?
I know how it is. We try to get started 11 o'clock on Sundays, and Roku said you're going to get started 11:15. Yeah.
Look, it is what it is, huh?
It is what it is.
Well, I'm glad you popped in. Everybody, this is Michael Cooper. He's running for at-large councilman for the city of Beaumont. And so we're going to wish you the best of luck and, blessings. I don't like to say luck. I like to say blessings.
Yeah.
And so we want to know a little bit about, I know a lot of people know you, but some people out there might not know who you are. And so just give a little introduction. And before he give that introduction, guys, go ahead and hit that share button so everybody would know that we have Michael Cooper on. Okay.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. And you're right. A lot of people do know me, but there are a few things that's been popping up. I didn't know what it would be like running local. You know, I ran across the state and on the federal level, but it's something about being in your own backyard, place you grew up, place you run down the street, neighborhood associations, things like that. And one thing that came up is that my longevity in business, I didn't realize it myself. And I don't mind talking about my age, 57 years young. When we have a president that's like 86, that's young these days.
Yeah,
So I'm really just not getting started, But I started working with my parents' business. We had 5 different businesses, and I was 7 years old. Well, and I was a tall 7-year-old boy. And at 12 years of age, I started leading crews and groups. We had janitorial service, tractor service, construction service, backhoe, box blade, you name it. We did 18 wheelers. So, I mean, I was jumping on equipment at a young age and
Right.
having lots of fun. Oh, yeah. But something happened at 16. And this is the story that popped up. I think we were in Rosedale Neighborhood Association on Monday night. And, you know, my dad used to say, teach a man to fish, eat for a lifetime. You give him fish, he eats one time. And my father, before he died, I was 19 years of age when he died. And he taught me how to fish. Well, he taught me too well because at 16 years of age, I asked him, I said, Dad, why is it every time I go to the back and you paying the guys, you don't pay me? He said, well, come with me, young man. I said, what? So he brought me to the refrigerator, opened up the refrigerator. He said, have you ever had to go and buy any of these groceries to put them in the refrigerator? I said, no. He said, have you ever looked in here and ever seen it empty? I said, no. He said, what about those lights? I said, what about them? He said, you don't know who GSU is. That's Gulf States Utility back then. I said, no, I don't know who they are. He said, I know who they are. He said, those men, I give them money. They go home, pay for all of those things I just told you about. So I went to bed and I didn't sleep all night. And I was sick. Understand, Ms. Jones, I was 16 years old. 16. I woke up the next morning after dozing off. I told my dad, I said, you know what? I'm firing you. He said, what? I said, I'm firing you. If you can't pay me, I'd rather pay you rent and help pay for some of those things you were talking about. I'm starting my own company.
Okay. Cool.
16 years old, I started my own company. I used the bicycle he got me for Christmas. Yeah, it was a hand-me-down. It was my brother's bicycle. I got,
That's what we did. Got the hand-me-downs.
Got the hand-me-downs. Yeah. I was bigger than him, so I got to use his bicycle. So at 16, I didn't have a car yet. I used his bicycle that was my hand-me-down. I got a water hose. Y'all don't know anything about this. And I siphoned gas out of my dad's gas tank, out of his truck. And I put it in his gas can that I borrowed. And I borrowed his lawnmower because I didn't have one. Yeah. And I went down the street. There was a little lady named Miss Ruth. Her husband just died. Grass growed up on the porch. And I told Miss Ruth, I said, Miss Ruth, will you let me cut your yard? She said, sure, Michael. She said, well, how much you going to charge me? I said, I don't know. So she said, well, figure out how much you're going to charge me, let me know. So I went around the front, around the back. I said, $12. She said, okay, no problem. I have your money when you finish. Didn't have a weed eater, didn't have a blower, didn't have an edger. Went around there, cut the grass. 20, 30 minutes later, I was done. She gave me $12. Went down the street, stopped at Miss Shirley's house. Miss Shirley's husband died about 2 years prior. Noticed that she had leaves and stuff in her yard. And she said, how much you charge me right there? I say, $25. Charged for $25. Keep in mind, I started a lawn service with 2 widows, a handful of money, borrowed gas, borrowed lawnmower, and within a year later, I had signed a 6-figure contract with Dr. L.L. Milton, Harvey Bob, Mr. Thomas. I don't know if y'all know all those names. That's way back in the day. They were part of Eagle Bout company, and I didn't know that African-American people actually own things. This is in early 80s, and these guys were doing great business. That's the reason why the L.L. Milton YMCA was a great place for me, because the first time I signed a contract, it was 6 figures. Y'all, I had employees. I paid people this, you got to understand, 1982, 83, I paid people $8 an hour and my head foreman $12 an hour. You know how much minimum wage was back then? $3.35.
Wow. That was way before
I had to pay, what'd you say?
That was way before my time.
That's way before your time. So I had to pay a great wage in order to get great people. And so those are some of the things, you know, not just being city council, but being a city leader, is that jobs and paychecks and a livable wage, an equitable wage, not just equality, but equitable, meaning that we need good health care, we need good jobs, we need good paychecks. So that's some of the things as city council at large that I want to bring to Beaumont, I just had an interview this morning with Beaumont Enterprise, and I told them that one of my dreams is to And I talked to the guys that own Buc-ee's when they opened up the first one in I think it's on the way to Austin, Texas. I forget the name of the city there. But anyway, and I stopped there and I called them. I said, listen, when can I partner with you guys and open up a Buc-ee's myself? I want a franchise. He said, oh, it's not a franchise. I said, well, I'm going to stay in touch with you guys. And I have done that. So I want to challenge Buc-ee's to move to Beaumont, Texas, off of I-10. There's undeveloped land right there by the Willow Creek Country Club. There's a lot of land right there. Wouldn't you like that?
Oh yeah, I love Buc-ee's.
You love Buc-ee's. Everybody loves Buc-ee's.
Everybody loves Buc-ee's.
Everybody loves Buc-ee's.
I can't go to Houston without stopping at Buc-ee's.
Yeah, so imagine Buc-ee's right around.
Going and coming.
Yes. And so they start off paying $16 and $18 and $19 an hour. They're doing the same thing I did in the early 80s. And that's what, and so most people saying $12 an hour, $10 an hour. Y'all, that's below poverty at that point. So we need a livable wage. Those are the things I want to challenge us in our community. There's land over off of North End, Beaumont, and Bigner, over 50 acres of land. I want to give it a major industry and bring that to us. We missed an opportunity. I'm in the automotive industry where I've been for almost 30 plus years, executive manager forever. So I've been in business all of my life. I know all the nooks and crannies. I know the left, the right, the south, the north, the east, the west. I know all the streets where we need new paved road, new sidewalks. I know where those problems are, but I also know how to get it done. And that's the reason why I started talking about when I was 7, I was 12, I was 16. This is inside of me. I was designed for such a time as this. I was designed for it, developed, ready for it.
You sound like a minister.
Well, I am.
I know you are.
I'm cheating. I am a minister.
I know. I'm just saying that. So, so you want me to call you Reverend Cooper?
You can call me Michael. Just call me for dinner.
It ain't gonna be here because I don't cook.
Well, hey, you can always order out. I'm okay with that.
Okay, Mike. So why did you decide to run for councilman at large?
Well, I didn't. I did not. Matter of fact, my people in Tyler, Texas, Tarrant County, Dallas County, 254 counties across the state of Texas were waiting for me to run for lieutenant governor again because the guy that ran that I almost beat, I let him run for that, and I was staying busy keeping my name out there. But I heard he's going to run for governor, so they want me to run for lieutenant governor. But I told them after running a few races across the state and the federal government that I want to answer to the voice of the people. They called me, they said, listen, we want someone that's qualified to help run our city, and that person is you. I said, well, let me think about it. Let me get back with you guys. And so I got with some of the city leaders. I said, well, if y'all are serious about this, I would use my political capital and run local. Listen, I have a good friend. Her name is Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She's been in Congress for almost 30 years. Do y'all know that she is running for mayor of Houston?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's running for mayor of Houston. You know why? Because as small as she is, she has a large heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so she cares about her people there in Houston. And Mayor Sylvester Turner is termed out, and she knows that there's still a lot of work to be done. And y'all listen, she is my friend. She knows where the money is hidden. That's one of the things on my agenda is to work with Congress people. There's a guy here locally. You probably don't even know who our Congress. No one probably knows who our Congressperson representative is because we don't see him. We have a Texas state senator. We don't see him. Most of them live in Montgomery County, the Woodlands. They got wonderfully paved streets. They have good infrastructure. They can flush their toilets and drink at the same time. If we get 3 inches of rain in Amelia, South End, and North End, you got to choose which one you want, a good shower or flush your toilet. Because you're going to have problems if you got 3 inches of rain.
Right. I was going to ask you that question next. If infrastructure is pressing here in Beaumont, so how would you address it when you're in office?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is holding our state representatives accountable. Listen, I love.
Oh, you're accountable too.
Huh?
We'll hold you accountable too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, and please. And that's how I'm going to do it. Because they have money that's in the state level and on the federal level that they should give back to us here in Beaumont, Texas to redo our water and sewer lines. Beaumont's been around since 1838.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1838, some of those sewer lines and water lines were still the same ones there. Our city water treatment plant is on Pine Street, the lowest lying area in Beaumont. One of the plans I have, I talked to a city engineer with a PhD. We can move that in a quarter of pieces at a time. Because right now we're not even using half of the city water treatment plant to get water out because we don't need as much right now. So
I don't care. I don't care if he have a PhD or he dropped out in the 3rd grade. They need to do something with these water lines.
That's exactly right. So the reason why I'm saying is because that's my information. I get it from a guy that's been studying it for a while, been looking at it for a while, and he said there's a way to get clean water, but we need a newer system. We need something that has been around 60 to 80 years. And so when it floods, then the pumps go out, and those are issues. So somebody said, well, we have a 500-year flood. Well, I don't want to wait for another 500-year flood to fix the problem. We had to get local businesses and other companies to help get the water pumps up and running again after the last major flood. Well, imagine if it's on Major Drive in Folsom. Now the city water is on a higher level. Yes. And so now we have gravity helping pump the water down to other people in the city. We still need pumps, but not as many pumps. We'll be close to LNVA Canal to where we can borrow water from them. It may cost $2 million a year, but right now we're spending $2 to $4 million a year to pump water that's supposed to be free from the Natchez, about 4 to 5 miles down the Natchez River to our water treatment plant, and then we have to get it ready for us to utilize. These are the kind of things that I want you to hold me accountable for, because I'm talking to people already. I'm not in position, but I am in position because I've been a city leader for a long time. And so I'm talking to the fire chief. I'm talking with the city chief, police chief. I'm already doing the work that is necessary as a city councilor at large person. That's the reason why the people call me and ask me to run.
Right. So what are your goals? When you get in office, what are your goals that you're going to pursue in the first 30 days or 90 days? So
one of the first things I'm going to also talk about, and we have to do things at the same time. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. So while we're doing that, working on the water and the sewer lines, because I'm going to try to get the information that's necessary to get 2 votes to get it on the council and 4 votes to pass that we move this water treatment plant up higher ground. So I want to do that. The other thing that's on the table right now with our city council is downtown. Well, no one's talking about how we're going to redo downtown. Now, we've heard some people give some input. Matter of fact, I went to that meeting, and there was a lady, a friend of mine, also a lady that worked in the community with us, Tony Praters, Ms. Praters. She came up with a great idea. One thing I have to do is listen. And that's I listen to you, I listen to your show, I listen to Tori, all of you all, when you all have other guests, I'm listening to what you're saying then. And so I go back and dissect and say, well, what can I do with that? How can I use that? Ms. Praters was walking around this venue and she said, you know what? We need a facility that's kind of like Kima. I said, what do you mean by that? She said, there's an island downtown Beaumont. I never paid attention to it. Right now, there's a company right across the water on the river front water, and there's a little island there, and it's a business. She said, imagine Kima coming up out of there. I said, wow, that's brilliant. I like that. And then the Golden Nugget, you go into Lake Charles and they have the lazy river going around the hotel. Imagine 11-story hotel with a lazy river going around it. Ferris wheel. All of these things, a merry-go-round, all of these things right here in Beaumont, Texas, that'll drive traffic and revenue downtown Beaumont. And then you top that off with a town square where you have amphitheater. I talked with Mr. Williams, Jonathan Williams, that does all the plays and stuff. So imagine going to a Sunday event, Sunday afternoon for free, and he has some of those talented kids up there on the amphitheater. And now you out there, you got a dog walk, you got amphitheater, you got a memorial, flag memorials to our veterans. These are just some of the things I saw in Frisco, Texas. I saw it in Tyler, Texas. I saw it in El Paso. I saw it in Fort Hood. A little bit here, a little bit there. The problem that we've had with our council is that no one has a vision and no one's thinking outside the box. Nobody gets past 77706 zip code. Nobody gets past further than Nederland. What we have to do is look at what other people are doing successfully and bring it to Beaumont and challenge the other council and mayors to do the same so we can get the money and infrastructure rebuilt and build it back better.
So you're willing to, if when you get an offer, you're willing to go downtown, look at it, redevelop it, and make things more successful. Because you back when in the day, we had a nice downtown. You know,
Nice
downtown,
downtown.
nice
Yeah.
downtown, and all of a sudden it's ghost house.
It goes
And
on. Well, it takes people. And so I understand we have three more, not hotels, but three more restaurants that's going to be coming downtown. But we've had three restaurants downtown before. If you don't have the traffic, those restaurants are going to close down again. So when you have a town square, on each lane of the town square, there's at least 10 little hubs where you can rent out to mom and pop shops. So imagine now you have more mom and pop shops down there. There's at least 40. And then you can do what I call the end anchors, like for instance, get Papacitos, invite them to come to downtown Beaumont. Invite maybe a TJ Maxx to come to downtown Beaumont. Other a nice 4D theater with food and maybe even beer and alcohol, because that's what they're doing in the big cities. These are the kind of things, bowling alley. These are the kind of things we need to bring to our downtown Beaumont when we're rebuilding it. Otherwise, it's going to perish again. Our people perish for lack of vision. And again, like you said, I am a pastor. And so his word is applicable even when it comes to doing worldly things. If we don't have a vision, we're going to fall apart. And that's one thing I bring is a vision.
Yeah. But that's where the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce stepped in, right?
That's where they should step in.
Right.
That's where they should step in.
Bring the people to Beaumont, to downtown Beaumont, and whatever.
Well, if we have Buc-ee's, if we have let's say for instance, like I'm trying not to give a name because I don't want anybody to say, well, he said he's going to bring Amazon to Beaumont, but a company like Amazon. Why is it we have to always go to Houston for something that's going good? Why not bring it to Beaumont? And when you have the seat of the city council, especially the city council at large, you now have the seat of influence. And when you pick up the phone and call these entities and say, listen, we're going to work with you all. We want you to bring your jobs and your community and your people to Beaumont, Texas. So now we have more people coming to Beaumont. We're going to grow Beaumont. Beaumont is one of the largest metroplexes that's not growing in Texas. Everyone else is growing. Austin's growing. San Antonio is growing. Houston's just overflowing. It's just busting at the seams. It's almost to Beaumont now. So we have to do our part, and part of that has to deal with vision. And people get excited. Matter of fact, I'm noticing already. Even people on city council right now, I won't give any names. They're excited that I'm running and hear the things I'm talking about. I can hear that they're perking up and they're listening, they're paying attention, and they're ready to have. Listen, it's one thing to say everybody's getting along and everybody's singing Kumbaya, but I believe that iron sharpens iron. When someone else is asking me a question and I go, but have you considered this? And they go, but have you considered that? One of the reasons why I have a master's in psychology, Ms. Jones, is because I had a guy, when we went to the chambers, I was on the diversity committee at the chambers here in Beaumont. And he challenged me. He said, do you know why it has a poll that says African Americans are not as intelligent as most people? I said, that's a horrible poll. Who told you about that? He said, what they mean by that poll is because they don't have the master's and PhD level degrees. Only 1% of African American people have PhDs in the United States. I said, I knew that statistic, but I never thought about it. Now, there I was in 2017, sitting there with a degree from Lamar University. I had my bachelor's. And then I said, why did I never go back and get my LSAT? I'm going to do the LSAT to take my law degree, get my law degree. Why didn't I go back and get my master's, finish my master's? Why didn't I get my PhD? So right after that, within 2.5 years, I completed my master's in psychology. I'm halfway through my PhD in education, organizational leadership with an emphasis in Christianity, all because of a guy that challenged me to look at the polls and say, have you considered? And so I wanted to tweak that. So now I challenge school teachers. I challenge business professionals to get their MBAs, to go back and get their master's, get their PhD. Matter of fact, there's somebody right now that we had, there was a superintendent years ago, challenged our current superintendent to go back and get her PhD, and she did. And then opportunity met preparation. And that's what I want to do. I want to challenge everybody in Beaumont, Texas. We have intelligent Anglo, black, white, all these folks in this area. Some people say our kids are bad, but I think they're smart. But I want to challenge them to max out everything that they have. I asked my daughter tonight, I said, you're brilliant, and I'm going to be excited when you get your 4-year literature degree. I said, but I heard that the best lawyer is one that has a degree in literature. She said, well, Daddy, why are you pushing me? So I said, I'm not pushing. I'm just saying, have you considered? And that's why I'm going to have the conversation with other city council people and whoever's the mayor and say, have you considered bringing big businesses to Beaumont? Have you considered paying more than $10 an hour with our city wages? I want to raise the city wages. I want to make sure that we have qualified people, but I want to also pay those people.
So what do you think that distinguishes you from other candidates?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. One of the things is that I'm the most prepared. I have the best resume. That's not a brag, that's a fact. The fact is, I work for a guy. Matter of fact, I asked him if it was okay that I use his name and talk to people about him being a business father to me. In 1986, my father died July 4th. These are some more things I've discovered about myself I never even talked about in public. So on your show, you get the good stuff, the new stuff. 1984, my father died. 1986, I graduated for. 1986, my father died July 4th. And a year later, almost, I met a guy that was almost as tall as I am, had a master's in business, went to UT, and he was third generation owner of Kinsel Motors. Joe Bob Kinsel mentored me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. And not only did he mentor me, he literally, took me under his wings. I never forget, I was late for a meeting. And one thing you don't do with this man, you don't be late. And he said, what were you doing in your hotel room? I said, well, I was trying to iron my shirt. He said, iron your shirt? He said, that takes up time. He said, listen, you have several business meetings. You need to make sure that you're there early and make sure you shake everyone's hand before you leave. He said, but in order to do that, you need to be prepared. I said, what do I need to do to get down quicker? He said, always leave your white shirts. And white was the color you wore for cotton shirt. That's how you dress. In your plastic bag. So when you're hauling them, bringing them back and forth, they won't gather up and they won't wrinkle and they'll slide. Keep them individual. It's little bitty tips like that. And he showed me even more tips in business, things we have to do. One of the things he does is he always kept good people around him. I have great people around me at my church, my nonprofits, all the businesses I've started, the boards I've sat on, being president of that, executive director of that. I've always had great people around me, sounding boards, people as sharp as I am, as educated as I am, as well studied as I am. I'm a student and a learner for life. Mm-hmm. And so the way that I think that I have the advantage is that I've been doing that now for about 40 years. I worked for my father. I worked for myself. I worked for some big name folks and came in under contracts with folks like Sam Parigi, Richard Gustman, Bill Little. All these people built up Beaumont. They built Beaumont. Yeah. I was there with them from 76 all the way up until almost 1998. And I had my own lawn service, construction company. So I think I have the better resume when it comes to, and a lot of people don't realize that this is a business we're running. Beaumont is just big business. That's right. All it is. And so we shouldn't vote for our classmate. I'm somebody's classmate, but don't just vote for them because that's your classmate. Go and check out my resume. Listen to this this podcast. Get to know my background. Get to know who I'm talking about, Joe Bob Kinsel. 36 years I worked for him. 30 years I've been executive management on every level. I washed cars, and I also, I washed them in suits. But I'm telling you, and then at the same time, I did finance, special finance, up and down the ticket. So I've learned from the best minds. I've learned from the best people, all black, white, Hispanic, you name it. It's just incredible. It's been an incredible run, incredible career. And I want to use everything I've gleaned and learned from all of those people and make Beaumont better.
Right. But I actually passed through your place of business a week ago, and I I kind of waved at you, but you didn't know who I was, so
I didn't know you. I can't see those cars. So a lot of people wave. I just wave back sometime. I don't know who I'm waving at.
So if you could change it, if the change the zoning in Beaumont, Texas, what would it be and why?
The zoning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like where churches can be and things like that. What you're asking?
Just zoning, what like the what places are and everything.
Yeah, those places are. I think we need to relook at Beaumont. Matter of fact, I was in a commissioner court meeting and something like that came up. And I like what Jeff Brannick did. Jeff Brannick was trying to persuade, because they needed 4 votes also. This guy's been trying to cut a driveway out in the county. And this is similar to what happens here in the city. And there was the old law in the book that said that you cannot cut driveways within 100 yards of the other ones because of safety measures and things like that. Well, Judge Brannick said, well, that law was made when we had covered wagons and horses. He said, so now we have backup cameras. He said, now we have cameras around the cars. He said, now we have cars that are safer with airbags, things like that. He said, we have to consider different laws and different zonings now. He said, we don't have time to go through this process. He said, my vote is to allow this man to cut a driveway so that he can have more access to his cattle, his hay, and his fields. He said, so therefore my vote is, and right there on the spot, he changed something that would have taken probably 2 or 3 years in zoning and everything else. So that's the kind of ferocious cooperation that I want to have with city council. I want to be able to talk with other councilmen in their wards and councilwomen in their wards and with the mayor and say, listen, we need to look at some of the zoning and things. That's something I want to change and add to it, is that when people are cutting their grass, they need to either catch the grass or blow it back in their driveway. I go down the road so much and I see people doing this all the time and the only reason why it sticks out is because I used to have a lawn service and they're blowing it down the drainage and then wondering why the water's backing up and the water's not going off, running off after the rain, because you got your leaves down there in the sewer, you got your grass down there and it's building up and dirt down there. So if I catch someone blowing leaves back into the streets on your cars, that's going to be one of the things I'm going to address. So get ready. I'm coming after them.
Have you been to any of the board meetings?
Yes, they've been so long here lately. I still work, so right. I can tip in and tip out and listen a little bit. But I do like most people now. I go on Facebook. Facebook has spoiled me.
Right.
Kind of like some of the members have done now with churches. They watch it on Facebook.
Watch on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's right.
You have any questions? She was.
Actually, I had a lot, but I didn't want to interrupt Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, go ahead.
But one thing that you said, my husband, he was did lawn service as well, and he would actually stop the guys when they were blowing stuff in the street. Yes. That would irritate him. But you mentioned the lazy river. Didn't Councilman Turner talk about that? Is that something you guys are implementing?
Well, I just like to do it. Maybe I haven't heard him talk about it. Maybe he's heard me talk about it, but I think it's a great idea if he's talking about it. So that's 2 votes right there to get something like that done. Because I've been talking about it for a while now. Yes. Okay.
And then also, Mr. Cooper, I know your stance on with NAACP and how you would make a stand for, what's going on with Beaumont Police Department. So yes. Is that something, being a councilman, that you still will do the same thing?
I've been having a relationship with the Beaumont Police Department for 36 years, almost 34, 35 years, because when I first got management at Kinsel's, I worked with them with cops and kids, and we donated the water and all of that. Yeah. So I've always worked with the Beaumont Police Department. Matter of fact, Rod Carroll's a friend of mine. He's the police chief in Vidor, Texas. Y'all know that. I went and spoke in Vidor, Texas. So the chief and myself and his assistant and all of them, it's kind of like a brotherhood. I have 3 brothers. We all fight, but at the end of the day, we go eat together. Okay. We go and drink tea together and hang out together. But next week, we're going to have a subject where I like the Cowboys and one like the Texans. Well, that kind of fight. Well, y'all saw when we had the incident with George Floyd. After that was over with, right? But guess who was there at the podium? As soon as the George Floyd, we had 1,000 people show up. We were the first community that came together right here in Beaumont, Texas at Martin Luther King Park. And the chief of police was right there. And we're sitting there saying, listen, you guys got to check yourself or you wreck yourself, basically, you know. And he was there. He didn't run away from it. And in my church, we had a town hall meeting where he and I both got cussed out and said, hey, you guys not moving fast enough. We want some things to change. We need them changed now. And because we heard that voice, people were passionate, people were upset, people were frustrated. So we went back and had a meeting in the chief's office, and we were there with his folks. And that's something that he committed to do because we challenged him and we asked him as community leaders who said, we don't like that position, that thing where you put your knee on someone's back or neck or head. We don't like that, whatever that's called. Somebody called it a chokehold. I said, we don't want y'all training that. And then he had some other officers in there, and they said, well, that's a thing that people, when they're passively, aggressively resisting arrest, we can control their bodies. I said, but we saw that it's danger, it's an endangerment, and it can cause death. We saw that 9 minutes and 29 seconds of George Floyd's life changed everyone's thought process. And you know, against all odds, the chief said, I hear the voice of the community. I'm going to go on live. And he went on Channel 12 News and the Beaumont Enterprise. He said, we would not train it even before it was voted in to not being a tool that you can use. So those are the kind of challenges that we face every day, is having communication. Let me tell you where I learned that technique from, is always being at the table with someone. If you're not at the table, you can't have a discussion.
Right.
You can, how can you, listen, if you're always in the streets yelling, you're not going to get any change. People don't hear you just always screaming and yelling. If you've been in relationships, you know that sometimes you have to sit down and say, do you hear me? Do you understand what I'm saying? What he said, you understand the words coming out of my mouth? You know, that kind of stuff. And so the chief and myself and others, we sit there at round table. Sometimes we break bread, and sometimes we walk away and we just shake our head and we still don't agree. But Dr. Martin Luther King got some bills passed in 64, 65, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act. The only way he got that done, and some people said Lyndon B. Johnson was hard to work with, but he got it because he kept going back to the president's office and continued to say, this is what we need for the community. And this is not something that's just for our people. When we all vote, we all better for it. When we all are working together to make our community better, it's a better community. So I'm not trying to make North End better. I'm not trying to make the South End better. I'm not trying to make South Park, Tripe City, Pear Orchard, any of that better. I'm trying to make Beaumont, Texas better. And when we have a better police force, a better fire department, there's some issues going over there with the fire department. I met with them. I'm letting them know that, listen, whether I win or not, I'm still going to be here trying to make Beaumont better. And we cannot do that if we're not communicating with one another. We can't do it.
That is true. I agree. I sat with the chief and I talked to him before, but I wanted to bridge the gap. I think we need to bridge the gap with the community and the police officers.
That's
and
right.
I feel that we need more people from because growing up, I had like Reginald Bozeman, Joe Stevenson, you know, they were in your yard, they were in your face. But if you have people that does not, what can I say, the word I'm trying to use? Well, if you don't have people that know your community, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion. We need people who know what's going on.
That's how I opened my neighborhood discussion last night. I was in the Roy Guest area where I went to elementary school. I was bused, you know, we were bused back then, all the way across town. My mom was a school bus driver. You know what? I have a real good friend of mine, Miss Bet. She said, boy, you didn't talk in school, but boy, you sure can talk a lot now. I say, that's because I was afraid in school. My mom was a school bus driver. She knew the principal, she knew the teachers, she knew everybody. Right. We were a community, you know? And And so when I was putting up the windows on the school buses and stuff, I wouldn't dare eat on Miss Lane's bus because I knew I was going to get in trouble on my mom's bus at the end of the day. I knew this Speedy Williams. His name is Mr. Williams, but we call him Speedy Williams, Nicole's dad. Okay. He was the principal at Roy Guest. And so it's just like I tell everybody, you know, and so the chief really get to know me because I was the flag boy. You know, a lot of people say, well, they don't kneel, they don't do this, they kneel down, they don't stand for the flag. No, I respect the flag. I know how to dispose of a flag to touch the ground. So we all have our different backgrounds, and that's something. I love God, I love my family, and I love his people. and I fear God. And so therefore, I want to make sure that I do the right thing. And we cannot bridge gaps with our fire department, our police department, our community, unless we all come together. You're going to see more town hall meetings. We got to figure out a way to have the city council meetings to where people can be there. And even if they don't want to be there, have it on different times so where different people can show up. I think if you have it every Tuesday, every week, there's maybe somebody that's on the shift work that can't make it on a Tuesday. Maybe do 1/3 meeting on a Saturday evening, and have a picnic outside afterwards. I don't know, but we have to do, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results, that's a sign of insanity.
True.
Sign of insanity.
True. And Mr. Cooper, do you plan on working with the school board as well?
Absolutely. Well, okay. You know what? Y'all are great interviewers, man. Hats off to both of y'all because y'all stirring up stuff that I hadn't talked about in forever. 2017, the way I got introduced to NAACP is that I was going to go around to all the community people and leaders and say, hey, can I have your permission to run for school board? Because that was my passion. My mom wanted me to be a coach and be a school teacher, but y'all, the reason why I ran for lieutenant governor is to get school teachers a pay raise. Well, the reason why I did that is because I found out that our board was governed by the state of Texas. Just like the same thing is happening in Harris County right now. They're getting ready to take over Houston schools. And that's not a great thing. That's the worst thing. And then they want more charter schools. So I was going to start my political career out as running for a school board position, school board trustee. But when I found out that I could not get seated for 4 years, Paul Jones at the time was the president of NAACP. And he told me, he said, you never sit down. He said, I said, so who decides that? He said, Lieutenant Governor and this guy, this education commissioner by the name of Mike Morath at the time, didn't have a degree, never taught school, wasn't a principal. Do you not know right now, if you're not a certified school teacher, they can fire you at any time. If you don't pass a certain master's test, you can't be an assistant principal. And let me tell you, Dr. Allen, man, you have to have a specialized certificate in superintendent and have a PhD. So those are hard positions, but yet you can be over all of the schools making decisions for people that are educated more than you are. Something's wrong with that.
And they do they also, I just found out, they do the TOS test. Is it the TOS?
Stop.
It's a group of people that do STAR tests. It's a group of people that are not educators.
They're not educators that's doing the testing for us. Yes. And so these are the things that I was going to look at. And then when I went out there, y'all, I really was just protesting, as y'all know I do. I love doing it. And so my race for lieutenant governor was to protest the issues that we had in our community and bring light to them. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to always win that thing. I had $5.25 and I had almost 555,000 votes. And the guy at the time, the BB, had 28,000 votes. To this day, I'm the only African-American candidate statewide that ever had that many votes, ever in the history of Texas. That's unheard of for any party, So we made history. You all did that. Miss Deborah Jones did that on her show. She got the word out. So this is how we do it. And we have to be a collective community. And y'all are doing it with podcasts. I have a podcast and a radio show I do on Monday nights. It's called Marvelous Mondays. I'm not doing it right now because they're giving me some time off to run this race. So we have to keep our voices heard. Yeah. We have to do what you guys are doing. I thank you all. Hats off to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on because they need to know who they're voting for and what's their status, what's their platform. So
and thank you for interviewing all the candidates because that's how you need to know. And so far, your show is one of the only shows out there that's really doing an interview and getting down to the crux of things and not just saying, well, vote for him because I like his shirt. Vote for him because he's a pastor. No. Get to know who I am.
More than that, right? It's more
and it takes more than 3 minutes. If you got a 3-minute stump speech, you're in trouble. You know. Matter of fact, I love my people in Beaumont, Texas, because we have so many talented folks. We have so many opportunities out there, and if they just step out and on faith like you all are doing here, man, we can really move some mountains. We can really speak to some mountains. We can really make some changes.
And then have them move out the way, huh?
See,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to preach. Speak to that
And
mountain.
Mr. Cooper, the reason I brought up the police department was because we're talking about bringing all these new businesses in, but
Right.
our crime rate is so high. So
Absolutely.
how would we? What do you suggest on the crime rate?
Y'all, see, I'm trying to do this without my notes and trying to put my head down and everything. You are my notes, girl. You own it. You better ask more questions. So 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with the police department, which is like a casual thing we do, like once or 3 times a year, and we sit down and say, what we need to do. And one of the things we were talking about is having police officers that actually live in Beaumont. We've actually had some that moved out.
Exactly.
That's some of the problems. And they were frank with me. I'm going to tell you what they said. I won't tell you the names, but I'm going to tell you what they said. They said they got tired of the boys and girls going to school, hearing about fights. They were afraid that the kids were going to get beat up in school. They got tired of finding out that the kids that were doing well in school had teachers that couldn't teach them long enough because they were dealing with disciplinary problems. So they got tired of it. And so some of them even had wives that were teachers, and they quit and moved out to our little rural county areas, and they moved out. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, have you considered, this is me talking again to folks that don't grow up in the same neighborhood, that may not understand the same things you understand. I said, have you considered moving back to Beaumont if I give you, and just something to think about, and I have to give the other council people in the mirror, if I give you a $500 amount voucher for each child, so you can either use that stipend to pay for your wife to stay home and tutor your kids, or to pay for them to go to a school of your choice. I said, these are some of the things we have to consider. And then once you get here and find out that things are not as bad as you think, then you might move around a little bit differently. They said that's something. So one thing I found out is that you can't punish people, but you can incentivize them to do things and move back into the community. Some of the other thing I'm talking about is that in the North End Beaumont, they tell me that crime is the worst. That's the area I grew up in. I must be a bad man because I survived it. I survived it. But I'm just saying though, they said that's the worst area. And so I said, imagine this, that we had a gated community, that we had 30 to 40% of those people are police officers or someone that works for the city that's in that community, that we incentivize them, help them out with down payment on their homes and finance their homes for them to bring them back into our community and then let them feel safe. Because in Chicago, it got so bad. I had a friend, he retired from Chicago PD, and he said they were not allowed to wear their uniforms home because if they knew where the cops lived, they would kill them. That's how bad it was. So I want to protect our officers. Why would I want to protect our officers? You just asked me a question. Well, we work with the police because we all have relatives. Some of us have. You talk about Mr. Bozeman. I baptized his son that is now an officer. I said a prayer over him and 14 other people when he got his badge. So I want to protect Mr. Bozeman Jr. now. I want Little Reg. I want to protect him. So I want to give him an opportunity to stay in Beaumont because guess what? It's not just Anglo officers, white officers that's moving out. We have some black officers saying, I'm going to move up further out into the country too because the schools are not as good as I want them to be. So we have to be real. And watch this. Let me keep it real a little bit more. Okay, I want my real people to come closer to the glass here. There you go. Watch this. Watch it. There you go. There were 5 black officers that killed a black man not too long ago. Y'all remember that? So watch this. It's not about the color. It's about the badge and the responsibility that comes with it. And so our job as city members and leaders is to hold them accountable to do the right thing.
Yes,
that's all of them.
That's right. And so we want to hold our doctors accountable. We want to hold our nurses accountable. We want to hold our pastors accountable. We want to hold our teachers accountable. We just want to hold everyone accountable to do the best job that they can do. And sometimes we have to put people in check and things in check and in place to make sure that things are in the positions that we need them to be. Otherwise, they're going to go unchecked. And when they go unchecked, things happen. People end up getting killed. People end up dying right before our very eyes. So it's a lot of work to be done. But y'all, I'm designed for it. I'm ready for it. It's time. You know what I'm finding out now is that I'm falling in love with Beaumont all over again, because I've been in some places, y'all. I worked 88 hours a week for almost 30 years. I didn't go to the grocery store. My wife did that, bless her heart. We adopted a nanny that became like a grandmother, lived in with us sometimes when she got sick and things. I had employees that literally would have to go put gas in my vehicle because I would go home so late and I would be on E. I mean, that's the life I had for 30 years. So it was like, man, what is happening now? Wake up. Our schools are worse. Our economy is horrible. People, once they graduate high school, they're not even hanging around going to Lamar anymore. They leaving here immediately. Can't and won't come back and even visit for Easter. Good Lord.
That's true. That's true.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, that is true. And you made a remark about charter schools. I don't think a lot of people know that charter schools are not the best alternative.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. I worked for a charter school. I worked for them, and they are horrible, really.
They're horrible. Now listen, there are some out there that are filling in the gap, and I want to tell you what I'm bragging on. Evolution Academy. They're one that fill in the gap because there's some kids that need some help and need that. Listen, those ladies over there are almost like mothers and nurses and psychologists and therapists for those kids. I know because I used them, got kids through there. We adopted one and got him through there. We're excited about that. Matter of fact, Miss Trigg, she told me and my wife, her best friend, about her vision. That was a vision that happened right here in my house. I smoked her some ribs and some meat and brisket and stuff, and she told us about this vision she had about helping kids that was in between. Y'all had to excuse my dogs; they're spoiled. But anyway, she was telling me about helping these kids that fall through the crack and the gap. And y'all, she's in 4 different locations right now. That's what we need. But what we don't need are these charter schools as the norm and just passing kids along. So yes, I will work with I work with Dr. Allen right now. Matter of fact, we were at an event, I think it was Divine 9, and she stopped me. She said, I couldn't walk out without saying hello to y'all. She's the one that got my wife back to work. She said, we need you. She had retired. She said, we need you. We need teachers to have classroom management. Y'all, my wife, bless her heart, we've been married 34 years. She's been teaching 30 years. And she took 2 years off to recover from a stroke and seizures. And y'all, she's doing a great job. The kids love her. Oh, yeah. And even after all that, she still has the best classroom management skills these younger people don't have. So now she's going back and mentoring them. And that's what we need. You know, we
need that. And we need our old teachers to come back because they're just.
We need them to come back. Yes.
We need like Miss Sanders to come back.
Well, we encourage them. And y'all, every time I see someone, they say, "Oh, these jobs, these hours are long." I say, "Well, have you considered?" See, that's my new phrase. Have you considered teaching? Have you considered they have a program now where they can get you emergency certification? If you have 90 hours, not even graduated now, they're working with you. 4-year degree, they'll transfer those hours and get you going again. And you're off when your kids are off. You're off for 2 months in the summertime. You have good, decent pay now. We're going to get you better pay later on. I'm working on that later. But right now, this is what we need in our community. We need a community that's going to work together. Stacy Lewis Jr. is a good friend of mine. He always tells me, he said, Pastor, I need you at the school board meeting. I say, I'm watching it. I say, I can't be everywhere at the same time. I still have 3 kids in college myself. I work full-time, y'all. Even though I'm semi-retired, I stepped down from management, but I still have to go and do some retail in order to pay my bills. My retirement is not enough money. I'm not rich like y'all.
Hey, I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it.
Claiming that. Plus, I'm a retired educator. So, you know.
I know. Bless you.
You put the fund in there.
I'm a cash app you.
I'll give you my cash app.
I know you will.
So we were on school issues and everything. What do you think about school shooting with the parents and the district and law enforcement agents looking for ways to ensure school safety? What are your plans to do when you get into office, or do y'all work with? I know the board works with the school district. So what are your plans when it comes to the school safety? And what policy would you enact and why?
Well, one of the things we're trying to do right now, and I'm already working, I'm already doing it, so I'm going to continue doing my work. But I have more power, so that's why I need the seat, y'all. So don't just say, well, he's going to do the work, I'm going to vote for somebody else. No. I need the seat. It gives me more leverage and more resources, more access to more resources, and then I can see some things and use those things. One of the things that I was very good at in business is that I can look at a problem and come up with a remedy to that problem and then resolve quicker than most people. So when I go to 20 groups and things like that, people would glean and learn from me. And I learned from them, but they would learn from me a whole lot. So right now we're 6 officers short with BISD. We're 6 officers short right now. So we need more applicants. So I was telling somebody the other day, I said, when we have more applicants, we're going to tick all the boxes. It's the law of averages. When you have more people applying and make it more exciting to make people want to apply, get the pay where right now our BISD officers only make like $35,000 a year. Usually that's retired officers that's coming in. But now most retired officers are going back to full-time work and getting paid more money than what they're making now as BISD. So we got to figure out where the money is to pay them a better wage, and then we get better officers and more officers. Right now we're short-handed. There's a lot of fights at Westbrook right now. Westbrook at one time was supposed to be the quote-unquote good school, you know.
I went to Westbrook.
So you know what I'm talking about. It's gotten worse.
Yes, sir. It's totally different. It's totally different.
It's totally different. Yeah.
So you had said something. I need to speak up for my correction officers. I don't feel that they get enough, they don't get enough acknowledgement, because you think about it. When you're locked up in a prison, the only thing these officers have is their mouth and some mace.
Yeah. And
I don't think that they get the acknowledgement that they should. So I used to be one. That's why I want to throw that out there.
Well, you're right, and that's another area I've worked in, trying to get some of that information to those officers, and also let them tell their story. We need to hear their story. I have an associate pastor at my church, and he just retired, 36 years, and he told me some horror stories. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
Gonna do it.
I can only imagine. And so, no, you're right. We need to bring them to the table. We need to find out what they need. Matter of fact, y'all, some of our, and you probably know this, some of our prisons were dealing with so many heinous things that Congresswoman She Jackson Lee, she even came over here. We had 2 deaths last year in our prisons. And so that's matter of fact, I think, and I don't know if y'all got or received this in the past, that some of y'all may need therapy for dealing with some of the things y'all dealt with. I don't know if that's an ongoing. I don't think it should wait for it to be an incident or a problem. I think y'all need to have someone to go and talk and visit with you at all times. That's just from me. Yeah.
No, that's a great idea, because you see a lot of death in there.
Yeah. They see a lot of death. They see a lot of fights. Like I say, they all they have is the mace in the mouth. I think they need to be trained in dealing with people. Find out that there are 16 different personalities. Figure out which personality you're dealing with, so that you can have some kind of tools to dealing with the psyche of the person. I worked at the High Note building at Baptist Hospital when I was in college. That was one of my side jobs. In 86, businesses kind of went down a little bit, so I needed to do a job that would help me pay my car note and insurance and things like that. So I worked in a facility where you were dealing with mental illness. And a lot of prisons right now, they're dealing with mental illness undiagnosed. And that's a problem in itself. So my hat's off to officers. And I think that they need psychologists and therapists in there to talk to and to deal with the things that they have to deal with every day. And that is a great point. And like I say, I'm taking notes even talking to you guys tonight.
Well, Mr. Cooper, you need to implement something. You guys need to come together, because you know how we say we're the children, they're all over the place, but it starts at home.
Yes.
And maybe we need some type of program for the parents.
Absolutely. We have a program I'm working with the district attorney right now, our new DA, Keith Giblin, Judge Giblin, and he and Judge Brannick and Sheriff Zena, they went to a place to go look at a facility We're trying to figure out how to use the facility out there on Highway 69. Used to be the youth facility, and
Yes, is it
again,
closed?
it's closed. So what we're
Okay.
trying to do is utilize a facility like that so we can keep these kids. Some of those kids are getting kicked out of school, or they've been homeschooled, or punished and sent home for 3 and 4 days, and then they go right back to the classroom. Some of those kids have anger management issues, and I tell people all the time, anger undiagnosed is mental illness because it continues and nobody's treated it. Anger unmanaged is mental illness also. So we have to manage it, we have to recognize it, and in order to do that, in this facility, we want to keep our youth for at least 30 days. We want to do an assessment with them. We want to figure out what's going on with them, why they're repeat offenders, and we want to hold them and see if there's medication is needed. We want to have therapists available. And then if they continue and they end up back in one of those facilities again, we're bringing the parents in and we're going to assess the parents. Now, I was told, this is one of my ideas, because I had somebody ask me the same question again, and y'all are great interviewers. I think y'all, if not better than Oprah, you're as good as Oprah. Great job. Yeah, and so we were talking about bringing the parents in and assessing the parents, and I said, yeah, I want to get CPS involved. And one of the chiefs looked at me and they laughed. They said, the CPS department is overwhelmed, overloaded, and understaffed. He said, you're going to be in mortal trouble. He said, we're going to have to get our own people to figure it out. And we have to bring the parents in and give them the tools that they need to help discipline their children. There's so many books out there. And we don't have to always beat our kids insane. We don't have to always. So I take my hats off to my wife, my hat off to my wife, because I grew up on the end of a broom. What do you mean? I mean that if my mama looked at you twice, you better duck because the broom is coming at you. I'm just telling you. If she's on the phone and she's got the phone like this, she's going to take her shoe off and she's going to swing that at you. Yeah. So she said, you're not bringing my kids up like that. So there was a perfect balance where we learned how to punish. We learned how to take phones away. We learned how to take car keys away. We learned how to make sure the television was turned off. You have to parent. Parenting is 24/7. You can't pick and choose. And if you smoking dope and videoing it, that's poor parenting. I'm sorry. And they're doing it. You can go on live, probably TikTok right now, and see a parent smoking dope with the kids.
That is true. Now, you know what you forgot? You forgot that switch tree.
I'm trying not to give away all my mama's secret. Y'all got to dig her up and punish her because they were mean to me. They were mean to all of us, really. But that's why I didn't talk in school, though.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't talk in school.
Yeah. That's
true. Well, I have one question before we get off the air. I know it's late, and some of us have to work.
Yeah, I know, right? I do.
Okay. So, do you have any endorsements?
Yes. PPAC is one of our endorsements right now, and I just had an interview with the fire department. We'll hear from them soon. 399 and the police department. So we'll hear from them soon. And we have several people all throughout the community. I don't want to put them out there like that, but they have endorsed me. I'll let them go back on their page and say, yes, I've endorsed Michael Cooper community leaders because I do know, this is what I learned about it, because I was a community leader. When I was the president of NAACP, I found out that I had to be careful about endorsements and people and taking pictures. There are judges out there, federal judges can't be seen taking pictures. But know this, that they all have endorsed me and supported me both prayerfully, financially. Have y'all seen the billboards yet?
Not yours?
Yes.
Yeah, I have not.
Yeah, okay. I got it. Look out there. You saw it? There you go. Yes, so they're up there, and thank you all that have donated and contributed. And thank you most of all for the prayers.
Yeah, always. Always. Okay, so I appreciate you coming on tonight, and like I said earlier, I apologize for not coming on at the right time, but we're here.
This is the right time. This is God's time.
It is the right time. It is the right time, huh? I know that's right. We almost missed this time.
Y'all doing great. Thank you all.
Anyway, thank you for coming on. I would like to tell my listeners that don't forget we have early voting April the 24th through May the 2nd. May the 6th is election day, and you can vote at Rogers Park Community Center, Jefferson County Courthouse, John Paul Davis Community Center, Theodore John Library on Fournette Road. Those are the 4 places that would be for early voting. So when they will open up the rest of them of the day of election day. So don't forget, I'm trying to put all the candidates on the air so that you can know who to vote for. Just like I said earlier, don't vote because that's your friend, that's your kinfolk, that's that's your ace boom coon. Vote for because you listen to the platform and you listen to what their platform is, and then when they get into office, we hold them accountable for what they said.
Amen.
So, God bless you and God keep you. We appreciate you. Kathy Wingate says she saw your billboards, and Aaron says amen for what you said. So, like I said, thank you guys for coming on tonight. I appreciate you. You guys always back me up. Tomorrow night, we're supposed to have AJ, but I do have a meeting, and I need to call AJ and let him know. But just look on my page. I'm gonna see whether or not I'm gonna come on because my co-host, she pushing me.
Great job. Great co-host. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway, I love you guys, and don't keep backing us up because you need to know who you're voting for and why you're voting for them. And so, like I said, be careful about when you go to vote. You know, we have these new machines, and be careful when you use them. Okay. God bless you. God keep it in my prayer. If I can hear somebody as I pass it on this way, then I know that my living is not in vain. Smooches. Good night. Good night. Good night, Michael.
Good night. Thank you all.
Oh, yes,
Number 1 on the ballot.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Number 1 on the ballot.
Number 1 on the ballot.
Number 1 on the ballot.